one of the most powerful things we have are symbols. This in many different ways in life. Symbols are like stories in a way. You know? We believe in something, we make something up somehow. Partially we receive these stories and symbols from what we receive in our culture, from people that we meet, and so on. But without going into details on this right now, one of the aspects is that these symbols, they are images that they have the power to connect us with things that goes beyond words, with aspects of ourselves that goes beyond words. No? And on many levels you can see the power of symbols. No? Even in a very mundane perspective, if you see in many big companies, the name of the company, actually the brand has a higher value than all the factories and everything put together. It's a bit crazy when we think like this, no? When we think, I don't know, whatever, we think, imagine any really big brand, and then you take all their factory and all the things that they own, and it's a lot, and you put on one side of the scale as value, which is the physical value of housing and all of that, and then on money and all of that, and on the other side you put their brand. You know? And for many companies, the brand is actually becomes even heavier than all the rest together. And what is the brand? It's a name. It's a symbol. It's something that in our mind, it represents many things. So it represents trust. It represents, oh, this quality is good, and this and that. You know? So this reminds me of one time I was in Brazil many years ago, and I passed by, at my father's house, I passed by one room, and the TV was on. And then in between programs, there was the moment of publicity, advertisement. And there was this long advertisement. I never saw before something like that, or after. Normally advertisements are a few seconds long. No? This one was like, 2-3 minutes, was really very long. And the advertisement was made of incredibly beautiful images of nature. So you had like Amazon forest with birds and waterfalls and the most beautiful images of nature with a very nice music behind. And nothing, no one speaking, nothing, just this, very long. And after this long, more than 1 minute minimum, I remember very long, these very long images of nature, so beautiful. In the end, from the middle of this image of the Amazon forest come the logo of Shell. Nothing more. So what are they doing? They are linking, they are actually nourishing their symbol with other meaning. So hoping that next time when you see Shell, you connect to nature. Okay? I think most of us, we don't fall so easily into it. But the point is that the more we look at it, one thing or not, we make the connection. Okay? So symbols are very powerful because through one symbol we can say 1,000 words, even more. Okay? And very often the symbols, they work within us on a different level. It doesn't go through the logical reasoning. It goes through another process inside of us. Okay? And we have many symbols in our life, on so many ways. Okay? So one of the things that in Buddhism happens is that we learn how to use this in our own advantage. Because in the moment that I want to get familiarized with certain characteristics, with certain emotions, with certain states of consciousness, and I'm able to nourish a symbol in order to connect me with it, I don't need to go through a logical process to get to there. Through the symbol, it's like a shortcut. It brings me to that state. But if I give you a symbol that it's not part of your culture, that you have never nourished this symbol within you, it doesn't mean much. It's like, even like hand gestures, mudras, In our normal culture, there are gestures that for us are very basic. Like if someone is coming towards us and we do like this, what does it mean?
Stop. Stop.
Stop, right?
Yeah.
Why? This means stop.
Yeah. We took the decision.
Because we think that's the normal thing, that's obvious. But we learned in this way. But for example, this is very sad actually, that when the war in Iraq just started, they made the first, what I heard, that the first checkpoint that was made by the American army, they had the whole checkpoint done, and the first car that came, there was there the military guy doing like this for the car to stop, and the car didn't stop. And they just killed everyone inside the car. And what happened was that in their local culture, this means welcome. Okay? So this is a symbol that we do with our hands. So symbols, they have actually meaning within it, but the meaning is attributed. It's something that we need to nourish the meaning. And it's interesting to see how very often this meaning is transmitted from one generation to the other, and we receive it without words. We receive this meaning in so many different ways. And then when we connect to it, it has a very direct bridge, a direct link to certain meanings and so on. And we can see in many different ways. Okay, one symbol that has been used in two very opposite ways, the swastika. No? The swastika is an ancient symbol. I remember one time in south of Italy, there is one place called Erculano, which is this ancient city that was covered by a volcano. And after they were able to open it, and they can, the city, many parts are intact, like how they were like more than 3,000 years ago. And there, I remember seeing one mosaic of a floor, there was a sort of outside terrace done with beautiful mosaic in the floor, and there was a big swastika in the middle. And this is 3,000 years old in Italy. And then you see in Buddhism, in Hinduism, everywhere the swastika is being used. Okay? And normally it has a spiritual meaning, it means stability, it means many things. But then you have someone that does terrible things with a lot of violence and uses the symbol. But what happened is that for us, that we didn't grow in the culture where the swastika meant something positive, and we just connected with the negative part, with the Nazi and so on. No? So we connected with violence and this and that. So what happens is that symbols, they are not inherently existent. They don't have their own meaning by themselves. It's something that we nourish. But once we nourish a certain meaning to a symbol, and this is not something logical the way how it happens, it's very profound, some spontaneous somehow. Once we nourish a certain meaning to a symbol, it becomes a very powerful tool to connect us with that. Okay?
Connect to that or behind?
To connect with the meaning, to connect what is behind in the sense, no? So in Buddhism we use that a lot. For example, we use the colors, we give meaning, we attribute meaning to the colors. No? White for pacification, yellow for increasing, red for power and seduction, green for opposition, blue for stability and the union of all. You know, there are different meanings that we can have. And there are certain states of mind that it's important for us to familiarize ourselves with. And in order to familiarize ourselves with certain states of mind, we need to connect with it, we need to generate it, we need to feel it, we need to enter in contact with it. Because that's how we transform ourselves, through interaction. And the main object of interaction that we have is our mental objects. Because we interact with images, we interact with sounds, we interact with touch, with smell, with taste. But the object that we interact the most are our mental objects. And the more I interact with something as a mental object, the more my mind will transform in accordance to that interaction. Okay. So one of the ways which is important is that if we have symbols that connect us, for example, to compassion, the moment that I see that symbol and I enter in contact with it, naturally it will connect me to that feeling of compassion. Okay? So, when we think about who we want to be as a Buddha, if we think about, okay, what would be the best version of myself, like beyond myself, and we try to imagine ourselves with great love and compassion and stability and wisdom and joy, you know, for many, many of us, or in many moments of our lives, if we really are sincere with us, we say, me like this, impossible. Yes, maybe after a long process I can get. Okay, I can imagine myself with a little bit more patience. Maybe yes, but complete no. I can imagine myself a little bit less selfish, but to see myself and to feel myself as being completely altruistic, come on, I'm not there yet. I don't know, is it clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So, how do I familiarize myself with a certain emotion, with a certain state of consciousness, a virtual state of mind that I'm not able to generate by myself? Okay. And here comes the power of symbols. We have one symbol that we nourish all this meaning. And one time I was talking to a friend, giving one short teaching to a few people in Italy, and one of these persons came to me saying, yes, I did it, and I would take his example. The meaning is like this, the practice goes like this way. I am not able to see myself with such level of love and compassion and so on. But then I imagine someone that for me has that qualities. Then I imagine that I become more and more near to that person. And I am overwhelmed by the qualities of that person. So I gradually allow myself to be overwhelmed by the qualities of that person. It's like if myself, I am like the clay, and the other person is like the artist, is shaping myself. So I am together with you in such, you have so much joy, I cannot but feel that joy. No? And then this is what we do in Guru Yoga practice. And this friend, he was doing this with his grandmother. He was doing Guru Yoga with a grandmother. Because he said, my grandmother is the person for me with the greatest love and kindness. For me is the main reference. So, by connecting to the grandmother, feeling the presence of the grandmother, allowing oneself to let go and to feel and to be, taken by that state of joy and peace of the grandma, slowly you can feel it. Okay? When he's doing that, he's not with his grandmother. It's not that that person is there physically. But the image of the grandmother, which somehow is a symbol, connects directly to all that state of love, of kindness, of patience, of joy. So through that connection, he can connect himself to that state also. And when we connect to a certain state, we familiarize ourselves with it. Okay? So, one of the important parts of our practice, and this is something that normally is not explained, and there is not necessarily so much need to explain, but in our Western mind, sometimes we would like to understand things. No? One of the very important processes that we need to do is we need to nourish the symbols. So when we take Aryatara, what we have here, if we look from a different perspective, is like a figure that looks like a cartoon. Tibetan tankas look a little bit like cartoons, are total 2D paintings. Very strong colors. You know? But what is interesting is that this image has been having a certain meaning for such a long time that this same meaning has been transmitted from generation to generation with a lot of depth and a lot of power. So when it comes to us and we receive this transmission, we connect in the same way. Okay? Because even the holy images do not have inherent existence as being holy. but there is something very sacred.
One time more even?
Even holy images, they don't exist inherently as holy. But what happened is that what exists is the power of interaction. It's like, I don't know really if Tara looks like this, like, it's not a matter of someone took a picture of Tara and then passed it on one generation after the other, It's like when we see the representation of Buddha Shakyamuni, it's very interesting. The Thai representation looks more like Thai, the Vietnamese looks like more Vietnamese, the Tibetan is a little bit more Indian, little Tibet. Like each one, There was the first representations and statues of Buddha Shakyamuni, they were done during the Gandhara period. And this was the period in which the north of India was part of where Alexander Magnum had the whole influence and the empire. So there was the influence of Greece. So you see the most old statues of Buddha, they look like Greek. They have like Greek art. There is this beautiful museum in Paris. If someday any one of you like to go for some weekend holiday or 1-2 days holiday to Paris, and then Rinpoche, I have been with Gansha Rinpoche 2 times to Paris just to go to see this museum. And Rinpoche would go into the museum, it's called the Gime, Museum Gime, and Rinpoche would enter the museum and make prostrations. And it was like, Rinpoche had, in the good sense, no shame, no? And it's like, he would just go like with 30 people, enter the museum, pay the ticket, everybody, then enter the museum, everybody. Namo Manju Shriye Namo, so then make prostration in the Om Bhadra Sattva, everybody singing through the museum, And the reason is that this is a museum that has the most incredible old statues of Buddhism. And Rinpoche was saying, you treat it as a museum, for me it's a holy place. And who is doing something awkward is you keeping these holy objects in a glass as if it's something that has no spiritual meaning. I am doing what these objects were originally done for, so I'm not the awkward one here. But anyhow, but I saw even other geshes, lamas, monks feeling strange, like Rinpoche doing like this. Okay, Rinpoche, there we go, but like little something strange. And this is another lesson, because Rinpoche taught us so many times that we don't need to worry about the judgment as long as we know that we are doing the right thing. And I saw this so many times. Many examples. No need to go into many examples. But in this museum, there are some very, very, very old statues of Buddha. Like more than 2,200 years old statues of Buddha. And these are from the Gandhara period. And they look like Greek. So the question is, do we really know how Buddha looked like? Lama Tsongkhapa, it is said that there is one painting, not one statue, that is called Nadrama, which was done during his lifetime. And he looked at the statue and he said, it looks like me. So that's the name of the statue, it looks like me. Okay? And it's one of the most holy objects there in Tibet and so on. I saw this statue once. So, and he was a little bit round face, fat, big nose. Lama Tsongkhapa said that he had a big nose. Anyhow. Yeah, not exactly. But the point is that when we look at this image, the point is not, does it look exactly how Buddha was? It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that for centuries, people have attributed so much meaning on so many levels to that image, and we receive this heritage on a non-conceptual way. Even today, through the empowerment, one of the things that is being transmitted, it's the one like it's giving more meaning to the name and to the image and to the sound and everything of Tara. And this has been transmitted in this way for centuries, one after the other. So when it comes to us, we receive very powerful this meaning. And then we need to nourish it. we need to understand more its value. And the more we develop our faith, the more we have connection, the more we do the mantra, the more we nourish the power of this image, the symbol. And then, even when we look at the picture of a person, that's a symbol. The picture is a representation, it's a symbol. Then we connect to everything that is there. The same thing is with Tara. I'm not saying that Tara doesn't exist, it's just a symbol. That's not what I'm saying. But the image is a symbol. And through this symbol, it has a very powerful effect of allowing us to connect with the qualities we need to interact and develop. Okay. So one of the things that we need to do on time, slowly, gradually, means we need to nourish the symbols of our practice. Okay. And how we nourish? By treating them with respect, by attributing meaning. The more I respect a certain symbol, a certain image, the more I am giving meaning to that. And through that, I connect to that meaning. I'm able to connect myself to that emotion, to that feeling, to that state. Okay. And one of the very special things that we have in Vajrayana Buddhism is that we have these beautiful special symbols. Let's use this term all today. And then we allow ourselves to become one and inseparable from it. When I become one and inseparable from Tara, it means I am allowing myself to experience to be Tara. And when I allowed myself to imagine I am Tara, it doesn't mean I become, a green lady who's 16 years old. That's just part of the symbology to help us. But it means I have a profound state of joy, of peace, of stability, of love, of kindness, of wisdom. I am that. And when I am that, I allow myself to experience it, and by that I interact with that state. And I familiarize myself with it. So, in our life, at many moments, it's so important for us to be able to connect with what is virtuous and positive. It doesn't mean that if you don't have an external representation, that you do not have an inner connection. This doesn't mean. But the moment that you see the external representation, it makes a bridge and helps you to reconnect with what you have inside.
So it is a reconnection.
It's a reconnection. It's not, if you don't have inside, outside, it doesn't mean anything. Okay? You can have all the images around. If they don't make any effect on you inside, then it's nothing. It's just colors, it's just paint, it's just whatever. But when you have insight, meaning when you have a particular value, it naturally connects you to it. No? And then you can have these moments of particular experiences. And this is something that we need to nourish more and more as we go on our path. Okay. There are some recent studies that show something nice. When we remember something good, when we remember a good moment that we went through, physically our brain and body reacts as if we were going through that moment. So the physical effects that generates well-being and pleasure, we experience it as if we were having that moment. Very similar when we remind ourselves. So when I connect myself with the Guru Buddha, when I connect myself with Tara, and I allow myself to feel that love, to be in that present, to be all of that, there is an immense impact in ourselves on so many levels.